yesterday I sat down. I had a talk scheduled to discuss the things that were added in Unreal 5.4 regarding the sequencer. And this was I scheduled this talk because I knew that there was a bunch of new things that had changed between 5.3 and 5.4. I watched there's a video on Epic's thing, the Epic YouTube, talking about I think it's animation deep dive, and in that talk they highlight a lot of the interesting things that they changed with the sequencer, and that really resonated, I guess, with me, because I found that using the sequencer previously was very clunky, and I was very much looking forward to opening up the sequencer and finding that it didn't feel quite so awkward. So I went up here and I went add level sequence, and I just chucked it and just whatever. And I looked at this, and it reminded me of something immediately. It reminded me of a door, like Bitwig, or do I even have that installed anymore? Like a music door where you can have tracks on the side, and you'd have like waveforms, and you've got beats and bars, and you can build a little song. And previously, I'd also watched. There's another Unreal Engine video. I put on these Unreal videos pretty much every night when I'm cleaning up the kitchen and doing my chores at the end of the day. And there's a video here called MetaSounds and UE5, from miniguns to music, right? And this video there's this dude, and he's made a whole bunch of different music inside Unreal, and it's quite good, like blah blah blah. Hang on, this isn't the video. Jesus, what have I done? I also watched this one, but this is not the one I'm thinking of. Damn it. This guy. So if we go, I'm going to go back here. He did some demos of things that he made in Unreal. So
share this.
Where are we? Okay.
Can't hear this.
Oh, you can't hear it?
Yeah.
Or is it just me?
No. It's possible. Sorry. Thank you, Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also only hear your microphone.
Yeah. Hang on. Okay. All right. How's that?
Let's see.
Who wants to
You got
put
sounds?
names to him?
No. You got no sound?
I don't.
Hang on. I wonder if it's something to do with my audio setup. Also, share your system audio. I don't know what else. What else it
You have that
wants.
checked, yeah.
Yeah, just share it.
How's
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's all right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So he's built a bunch of stuff inside. Synth sequences, loops. blah blah blah, a bunch of experiences. Music, etc. And I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool. I listened to a bit more of what he did in this video, and I felt inspired. I was like, well, maybe I can learn about the new sequencer stuff by putting together a little music track. So that's what I started trying to do, but I kind of didn't get any further than this inside the sequencer, because as far as I'm aware, now we're kind of like just learning together here. The when you drag and drop one of the a meta sound into the sequencer, it doesn't really expose anything from the meta sound in the sequencer, which I found a little bit frustrating. Anyway, I was also inspired by Sammy's talk as well the other day, like where he was playing around with MetaSounds, and I wouldn't have felt comfortable with building something in Unreal using MetaSounds if I hadn't kind of got started with Sammy's little talk there. But I ended up building something, and I will drop it into the sequencer. Not that it really makes any difference, because the sequencer does nothing. And this is what I was saying, that it's a little bit underwhelming here. Maybe there's a way to hook it up so that there's more stuff exposed, but I got pitch and volume, both of which I'm not interested in controlling from the sequencer. Maybe the volume, that's kind of good. I could have it fade in, but what I'd like to be able to do is control, pretty much any of the meta sounds, like input and output, well, specifically the inputs on the meta sounds within the sequencer. So if you have
Yes,
you can do that.
this is interesting. I don't know if you can, but what do you have in your MetaSounds currently? In your inputs, do you have anything exposed?
Not in this particular one, but if I have I think I purposely didn't name any of these. So
Yeah, but anyway, I think it
this
will
one,
import it as an audio track, and it only allows you to modify pitch and volume and attach it. But
yeah,
I'm not sure if you can import it as an other object that would let you expose more stuff. Or maybe
I
they
guess
need
I
to
could
create
wrap
a meta sound component for that.
Yeah, maybe I should, if I wrapped it with another object. Now that you say it, that's probably the answer, which is wrap the meta sound, expose the properties that you want to adjust, and then go from there.
Because when
and
you attach
actually,
an actor, it would recognize the component type.
Exactly.
And then it might give you additional parameters that way.
it'll give you all the object properties to mess around with if they're exposed to cinematics. Yeah.
Yeah, could try with the SFX system.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought, all right, I'll just make a little bit of like a drum and bass loop and just see how it goes. And this is what I came up with. Okay.
Very nice. Yeah.
Oh,
Again.
nice.
This is just
again.
Just using the MetaSounds, nothing custom. Just the.
So no. Okay. So I didn't generate the sounds. I pulled in there's like, for example, like I've got a few samples here, which hats and snares, kicks, but I wanted, because I didn't want to mess around generating. You can generate kicks and snares and stuff with synth, but with oscillators. But I'm not going to do that. I didn't have the time for that. I just wanted to see whether it was going to be possible to make something sensible. But yeah, here we go. I'll let this play. If you play from inside the MetaSound itself, it will, it'll loop. So. Yeah. and you can imagine like you can put in
Alright.
fills and stuff. So,
That's really
but-
good. That's really good.
Yeah.
It has me grinning from ear to
Great
ear.
but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to put together. So one thing that is a big pain in the ass is the fact that it really makes programming in stereo painful. You have to do everything, like all of the outputs. It has a left
Yeah.
and a right, which is fine, great if you are concerned about doing things differently. But like for example, here I wanted to, like if we go back to here, I wanted to add a little bit of saturation and some limiting, but I have to do it twice, one for the left and one for the right.
Yeah.
Now I could collapse this and make this like a MetaSound, what is it, like a patch or something, and then I could run that through this. But well, maybe that's the solution. But it is just a pain to have to keep running everything through left and right. I wish they had a pin type which was kind of like a combined, like almost like a structure that you have in regular blueprints, which put the left and right into, it's just a stereo channel. But as we know, with most of the stuff in Unreal Engine, the bulk of the work tends to happen when it gets released, and then it kind of only gets very mild incremental updates from there. Like they get super excited about building 1,000 features and then never touch it again for 10 years. So I'm not really I don't really expect them to improve the usability of this particular part. But anyway, let me. I was very pleasantly surprised with the number of modules which are available for manipulating sound. Like, for example, they have a distortion module, which is actually very featureful. It's got three bands of filtering that you can apply with various different types of filters. There's low pass, high pass, etc. One thing I did notice though, that the filters that are available in each module are not consistent. So some of them will have, well, almost all of the ones that have filtering will have low pass and high pass, but whether they have like a notch filter or a low shelf, high shelf, it is really up to the module. So it makes me think that they've all had to implement their own filtering algorithm of like setups. There's a whole bunch of, what is this, 8 different types of distortion. So for example, if I switch this, the clean one kind of gives you just a little bit of saturation, which really improves. Well, it's amateur musicians like myself, put things like saturation on their sound, because it takes a lot of the work out of getting a good compression setup going. Distortion naturally compresses the sound in quite a nice way. So I sort of used it as a substitute for sitting down and figuring out the correct compression settings. But for example, if I put this on the rectifier, it's supposed to be like a triple rectifier guitar amplifier, I'm assuming you'll hear it's much more crunchy. They've got all these different types of distortions and filters and stuff. They've got limiter, they've got a compressor. They didn't have a gate, but I guess you could build one. Something that I added recently, there's a plugin called a harmonics plugin, and that's actually where what made doing this possible. So one of the things that I found a little bit frustrating about the 2 videos that I watched on MetaSounds, one was both of those videos produced their sounds using very indirect ways of like their looping was done through like having trigger repeats. So you would take your BPM to seconds. You would say, all right, my BPM is 120, and that's very fast. 120, and chuck it into the period, and so this thing will repeat the whatever thing that you get it to do. So, for example, you can have a wave player, like sample player, whatever it's called. You could have it play like, for example, a kick every 4 bars or something. But that seems like a very difficult way to build music. So this new harmonics plugin gives you this button gives you a fairly fairly basic step sequencer.
Yeah, and was this the one of the things that they pulled? Didn't they make an acquisition for something related to this?
I don't know, but harmonics. I don't know harmonics. I believe it might be there we go. Harmonics Gentech. I have a feeling that it's a. You know what? I don't know. I don't know who they are, but they seem to know what they're doing. If you go in here and you look at all the MIDI stuff, like the under the harmonics, that's probably better. All the MIDI related stuff comes from harmonics. So if you've got a hardware synthesizer or a hardware drum machine or something like that you're using to make beats, you can run, for example, you could run an MPC or something like that, or a MIDI keyboard into Unreal and manipulate the MIDI notes and the MIDI data from that, or you can play a MIDI file. So there's plenty of free not open source, Creative Commons MIDI files that you could use to make music. So MIDI files, if you're not aware, MIDI is where you. It's a little bit like the difference between SVG and JPEG, or a bitmap even, where a WAV file or an MP3 describes the sound. Well, MP3 is kind of like a JPEG, where it's kind of like a mathematics, which describes the sound. A bitmap is a little bit more like a WAV file, where a bitmap is literally just like, these are the colors at the positions. It's just like an array of colors. A WAV file or wave file is all of the amplitude values. It's just like raw amplitude data. And so it describes the sound. MIDI describes the notes and but nothing to do with the actual sound, not directly anyway. So it'll say, all right, I press a button on my keyboard, it's a C3, and I hit it at a velocity of 63. And then it's up to the consuming tool to convert that note into some audio. So this step sequencer generates MIDI notes, which again, you could send the MIDI out of your hardware and have it running into out of Unreal and running into the hardware. And if I can figure out where the step sequencer asset went, hey, what is it? Oh, was that? So you can see here, there's note numbers, and the note numbers are like, A0 will be like note 0 or something like that, and a high pitched note will be up higher. And so I've assigned some numbers to some things, and then I don't know what this product is, but there's if we go back to this beat test, there's this Fusion sampler which takes a MIDI stream, and if we open up the patch for it, is this interesting to you guys? I hope so.
Yes.
Can I use my MIDI controller as an input joystick?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Oh, as a joystick. Well, I guess so. You'd have to figure out how to.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a joystick. Yeah, I mean, anyway, it's good.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Okay, so
we could possibly make a game. Be a drummer with a MIDI and an Unreal.
yeah, yeah. So in that case, what you'd have to do is, you'd get the MIDI. Didn't see yet. Okay, so there's MIDI control stuff here,
Yeah.
and so you could convert the control stuff into float values and then spit them out somehow and have something read those as and convert them to
and sliders and
enhanced
stuff.
input.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
So I made a drum kit patch here using this fusion thing. So this is just where I mapped the notes to samples. I just grabbed one that was already in there. It was an upright bass thing, and I just swapped it in for my things, and then I made the numbers here align with the numbers in the root notes here, and and then you can play whatever. Now this step sequencer is not the best. So for example, you can't control the velocity. So the velocity is like how loud a sound is. You can't control the velocity of a thing per note. But what you can do is you can have two rows and have two different velocities. So I've got this one's my kick drum row, and I have a sort of like a ghost kick here, which is at half velocity. You might see some that are yellow. This allows you to control how. Let me pull this up on. Hang on. Let me turn these distortions off, down. This is a real mess. By the way,
makes a difference like that. Like
You
really hear
distortions
that,
in. Oh, sorry. Is that step sequence related to?
yeah, the
kick sound?
very first one, like the very first note on the.
You modify the distortion in your new MetaSound source too, but I think that's a different MetaSound, correct?
that is a different MetaSound.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it is running through that. I don't know. Let's go back. It didn't sound stereo. Doesn't matter. I'll just tell you about it. So this allows you to extend a note. So what normally happens is that the note on starts at the beginning of the beat, and then the note off is at the end of the beat, right? And then the yellow notes, when you double click, it makes the note off. It extends the time before it sends the note off. And so, for example, down here, this is a snare drum, and I can make the snare drum go or versus right. So if it's just if it just goes for a single beat, it goes. But if I extend it, it goes. It allows the full sample to play.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also multiple pages so that you can mess around with different. Oops! I hope I didn't delete my data by doing that. So you can have different sequences that will play, and you can tell it to advance to a different sequence. Yeah, it's all quite cool. Then I also played around with the synth stuff a little bit. That's like to get that bass sound, and I'm trying to figure out where I did that. Like I said, this is a big mess. I was just quickly hooking things up. It might be this one. No, this is my this is my compressor. Oh yeah, here it is. So again, I've got like a sequence which makes the notes for me. I've got a wave table here which is doing some modulation on the sound, and then I've got like this super oscillator. The oscillator it kind of combines a bunch of oscillators together, and will
That's from the plugin.
Yes, yeah. This is new.
Oh yeah,
and
cheater.
it'll detune. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can. I could do it, but so it detunes some of the sounds, and so if you have multiple oscillators running,
No, but that's
at
great.
a similar frequency, and then when the key word is similar, so they're detuned a little bit, out of tune, it makes this nice. It has this nice phasing effect, and it sounds really, really good. But yeah, there's a bunch of different options here. You can change how many voices. You can. I didn't figure out a good way to actually have the notes on and off work on the synthesizer. So what I ended up doing was just to figure it out. I refused to look at any documentation for this, at least yet, or actually finish those videos. I only got halfway through. The cross. I just set it up so that when the note comes in, it triggers an envelope, and I crossfade between the sound and no sound. This is just 0 here. Crossfade between the sound and no sound, based on this envelope. So the envelope is like it's like how the sound fades in and then how the sound fades out. And so when this crossfade allows me to achieve exactly that. But I also set this up. There's another spot here where when the sound fades out, I actually fade in some noise somewhere around here, which gives it a it's sort of like the on the off beat, it's sort of like like that sound is coming from like a white noise generator. So instead of fading to nothing, I was fading to white noise, which here it is here. And then I chucked a few filters on some stuff, put some modulation in there. There's a DJ filter here, which sort of, you could imagine, this is the one that gives you the
Yeah.
That wasn't a very good version of it. Flanges,
Like
there's
a
compressors. Huh?
Like a flanger.
Flanger. Yeah, so flanger is a type of filter, which I think it's a little bit like a demodulation. Like it detunes the sound probably, just, and then puts it back. It retunes it. I think that's how it works. Anyway,
it's an effect, yeah.
It's an effect. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different interesting filters in here. There's a bunch of different effects and all the stuff that you need to make tracks. And I'm considering, probably I might even start trying to use Unreal Engine as my as my door for making music going forward. The only thing that I didn't figure out a good way to do is sequence stuff. Yeah, so that, for example, what I have here is a loop, but I want things to happen. Like, so for example, at the end of the 4 bars, on the 4th bar, it should have a fill, and in the 8th bar, it should probably have the filter should change. It should either low pass or high pass, in or out, something like that, to act as a transition. But now I can set those things up kind of like procedurally, so I can say, all right, I'm going to make a step or like clunkily. So I have a step sequencer that has 7 pages of empty sequence, and then on the 8th page there's the fill. But that's not a very good way to work. And what I was hoping to be able to do is assemble these MetaSounds inside the sequencer so that I can actually make a song. There's one other limitation here, which is that these bar marks are not, based on how many beats are in the bar. For this to be truly useful as a music production tool, you would need to be able to get the beats and the bars into the. You can change the unit, but they're not. None of them are related to music.
Okay.
It's all ticks, time codes, frames, seconds. But yeah, none of them beats and bars. So not sure exactly how you would solve that. Maybe you could get something to automate pushing in like markers for all of the bars or something. I don't know. There's probably a hack that you could do, but or you could just wing it and just like eyeball everything, which is not a great idea. Or you could try to memorize how many frames are in a 1 bar of music. Maybe you have like a template block which is set to, all right, this thing is 1 bar long, and I just duplicate it, make sure everything aligns with these things, and that could be a way to do it. But it's sort of working around some limitations there. But yeah, that's really my talk. Yeah, you can do some pretty cool stuff with MetaSounds, and I'm really excited to dive in deeper and see what else is possible.
Yes, my only comment here is like you said, you have to set up the stereo and left of the outputs, which is not user friendly, and that's my comment here on the MetaSound, that they're not really they're a bit extreme. They're the opposite of user friendly, but that makes them very powerful, so that people can make like these plugins that makes it more easier to get quicker results. So at the same time, they're very powerful, so they're still great.
Like what I this one here is this is like my compression setup, and I made this into a MetaSound. So it just has the 2 inputs and 2 outputs, left and right, and I just duplicated the chain on both sides, and it's painful to like. I started making like variables for these things, or these could probably be inputs rather than variables. So it was configurable by the external thing, but it's just really is quite painful having to wire everything up twice. But maybe the way to do it is to you'd have the signal chain for one channel again as a nested inside this.
Make a patch.
You would expose, make a patch. Yeah.
Nice.
But it's super powerful. Yeah, and there's also like buses from doing mixing and stuff. I was doing all of my mixing through these mono mixers, which is super flexible. But there is some kind of like you could add, like your reverbs and things like that as a bus effect. And I didn't look into that at all. There's a lot more stuff in there that I haven't even opened yet. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Any other
question?
I was basically doing
You took that and ran with it.
the same.
Question: can you actually export and save like whatever you create in there as an MP3 file or anything else?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a very good question.
I don't know. I don't know.
Good question.
Don't think there's a wave writer, something like that.
Yeah, it probably would be. Source preset.
Asset actions. Is there anything? Or?
No.
Otherwise, we would need to open the game.
What happens if you click export?
Export. There is export in
the asset actions. Yeah, in the asset actions.
Oh yeah, but that's.
I don't think it's actually gonna do that.
Nah, it'll it gives me a
TD3 and a copy.
Yeah. So no.
Yeah. I have another question, please.
Yeah.
So for these values, I don't remember if I asked Sammy the same question or not, but inside MetaSounds, how far can I go on maybe try to link these sounds and the events inside them with objects inside the game? and I always reference this game. I kind of like talked to Sammy about it, talked to Krell about it. I remember I think and Alex too. I also talked to Alex about this game, which is called Hi-Fi Rush. And
Yeah.
in this game, they do this thing, which is like literally everything in the game is just like tied to the beat on the
Yeah.
background music track. And like, how far can you go from this?
Well, I would be
Really?
I would be surprised if Hi-Fi Rush didn't use MetaSounds, right? Because
Yeah.
it came out semi recently. It's an Unreal Engine game. It probably uses this stuff. Probably.
Yeah.
I don't. But yeah, like
I don't
look,
think of any other way to just like, how could they do that?
But yeah, again, I don't know. I have not played with like how do you get data out of this? Don't know.
Do you
You'd
mean the
have to-
variables?
No, like for example, when an
The
event
wave,
happens,
like when the wave hits, like when this like big drum hits, so then like when there's a tree, like I make the tree bigger or make it small,
Because
kind of like
with
on the
the MIDI
track.
controller, that was just basically saying, "Hey, something happened, pass a float value," but it wasn't like you couldn't specify what triggered, right?
right? Exactly. Yeah, yeah. But let's see, like if I create like a trigger, repeat trigger, repeat. So this, I don't know what this data type is. Let's see what it can do. So it's not going to be an array, not going to be debug, not going to be delays.
What is the desired effect here?
Oh,
So
Or-
it's just to communicate somehow to Blueprint. So for example, like when something happens in the music, the you would fire an event like a delegate or
Oh.
something
so
on.
could you click value bool?
Valuable.
Where
Yeah,
was it?
it was there. It was
Oh
in
yeah,
the,
yeah, yeah.
And then could you assign this to?
the output value.
I mean, it feels kind of gross, but
You
is there a
could,
way-
set a boolean as an input. Maybe you can read that data after.
Because does that
Yeah,
add anything on the left side or no? It doesn't, right?
No,
Outputs,
no. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. TBD.
By
Yeah.
any chance, can this thing be used inside the animation blueprint? Like the same way as if it, because the rig thing, right? Control rig, it's also kind of like its own blueprint.
Yeah.
And the way you bring all of it together inside animation blueprint, maybe this can be the node out of this mixer could be used inside animation blueprint, because inside the animation blueprint we have access to the blueprints and everything related with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they expose access to. Yeah, I don't know if there would be compatibility with MetaSounds and plugging that in. And
Well, I mean, you can control MetaSounds from Blueprint.
yes,
Yeah.
but animation blueprint specifically.
Yeah. I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And then animation notifies would be notifies on big animation sequences, which would be something similar. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but ideally, we would want to use animation notifiers as, again, triggers, for example, for some kind of sound.
Now I'm thinking about it. The way that it probably would work is, and the reason why there was nothing obvious about like making events appear in Blueprint from MetaSounds is that in most cases you want it to work the other way around, right? Like you want the thing to control the meta sound rather than the meta sound to control the thing.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's probably the intended thing, the intended way that you would use it. So in the case of like something like Hi-Fi Rush, they probably have some kind of like external clock or something, which and that clock would be driving the gameplay, and that clock would also be driving the music.
The big, the big, like when the big drum happens, like the tick when he hits his leg with the ground and make it drums the beat.
Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say, that you would have blueprints controlling the music.
Yeah,
they're setting their BPM, and then you control the blueprints to make the music, probably to trigger all of the events.
Yeah,
rather than the the MetaSound sending the data.
Yeah.
Which seems which seems like a naturally a good decision, that you want your MetaSound to just care about the audio stuff and not.
Yeah,
and maybe that's also why it doesn't have, like, there was no good way for me to tell MetaSounds to
control
like
things
to have like a sequence and delay and all that kind of stuff. That would be something that would be controlled externally, for example, through the sequencer or from a blueprint or whatever. Yeah.
Just protecting us from ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very well.
That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
That was really cool.